Sometimes there's a story you think you know, one you've heard a dozen times. But what happens when you look at it through two completely different lenses? We're going to dive into a story like that today, one told in an ancient text, and then reimagined in a way that gets right under your skin. Together, they give us this incredible look at what it really means to be healed.
So to really get this, you have to understand the air people breathed back then. There was this powerful, unspoken assumption hanging over everything. If you were suffering, well, you or your parents must have done something to deserve it. Suffering was a sign of sin. That single idea is the backdrop for everything that's about to unfold.
Okay, let's go to the scene of the story. The famous Pool of Bethesda. We've got two descriptions of this place. One is, a pretty straightforward, almost clinical description. The other one? Whoa, it paints a totally different picture. So on one hand, you have the Gospel of John. It gives us the facts: a pool, a name, 5 covered porches, and a lot of disabled people. Simple, clear, direct. But then you look at the retelling on the right, and suddenly you can almost smell the place. It smells unsettled. The water isn't magical. It's stirred by city runoff. It's gritty. It's desperate. It's real.
All right, so that's the setting. But what about the man at the center of it all? Just like with the pool, we get these two different portraits of him, one looking from the outside in, and the other, well, that one's from the inside out.
The biblical account gives us one stark, powerful number: 38. Just let that sink in for a second. 38 years. That's almost 4 decades defined by one single word: invalid. An entire lifetime spent waiting by a pool.
And this is where the retelling just hits you. It takes that number, 38, and it gives it a soul. See, it wasn't just about what the man couldn't do. It was about what he had to do, every single day just to survive. He adapted. He learned to make himself smaller, to want less, to expect less. He built a whole life inside his limitations.
So what was just an invalid in one text becomes this incredibly complex portrait of a survivor. In the retelling, he's a master of self-preservation. His posture, the way his shoulders are always tight with this reflex of danger, it's all a performance. He survived by convincing the world, and maybe even himself, that he was smaller and more helpless than he really was. It was a story, and for 38 years, that story kept him safe.
And then, everything changes. It's not a big spectacle. It's quiet. It's a confrontation that happens with a single question, a question that's designed to slice right through those 4 decades of defenses and get to the absolute heart of the matter.
This question is absolutely everything. Think about it. It's not, can I heal you? It's not, do you have faith? It's, do you want to be well? It flips the whole thing around and puts the choice right back in the man's hands. Is he actually ready to give up the only identity, the only life he has ever known? And his answer? It's not yes. Of course not. How could it be? Instead, he just goes right back to the script, the story he's been telling for 38 years. Sir, I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred. It's the perfect explanation, the ultimate excuse. It's the foundation of his entire world.
And this is the core of the whole thing, the story. That explanation he gave wasn't a lie, not really. It was a survival tool. It was a protective narrative that shielded him from disappointment and failure. It kept him alive. But, over time, that shield became a cage. The adaptation that saved him became a room he couldn't leave.
The response to his well-rehearsed story is so simple, so gentle, but so absolute. No more stories. Stop reciting the script. Stop blaming the circumstances. Stop waiting for the water to stir. It's time. The story has to end.
So now we get to the moment of healing. But here's the thing. It's not like getting struck by lightning. It's not passive. It's a command that demands a response. It's a choice to actually participate in your own miracle.
It comes in 3 parts, 3 simple, concrete actions. Stand. That breaks the physical posture of helplessness he's held for decades. Pick up your mat. Take the very symbol of your old identity, your bed of sickness, and own it. And walk. Step into a future that doesn't exist yet. Each command is an act of defiance against the old story.
The retelling, wow, it gives us this incredible peek inside his body at that exact moment. It's not just magic. A muscle in his thigh, unused for who knows how long, fires. A neural pathway that's been silent for years suddenly lights up. He feels the ground pushing back against his foot, and in that instant, the psychological prison, the story, it finally starts to crack.
But it's not over. Not by a long shot. See, getting up was one thing. Now comes the real challenge. What happens when the world around you tries to shove you right back into that room you just left?
And just like that, here they come, the guardians of the status quo. I mean, can you imagine this? A man who has been paralyzed for 38 years is now walking, carrying his mat, and their very first thought isn't, wow, or this is amazing. It's, hey, you're breaking the rules.
But the retelling suggests maybe it was about more than just the law. Maybe it was about order. They were guarding a world that made sense to them, a world where sick people stayed on their mats. A man who gets up without permission, who breaks the unspoken rules of suffering, he's a threat to that entire system.
So right there, in that moment, he's standing between two worlds. He can listen to that old story of fear, the one that kept him safe for 38 years, whispering, keep your head down, don't make trouble, go back to the mat. Or he can hold on to the new story of truth, the command that got him on his feet in the first place. Stand, kick up your mat, walk.
And this right here is the powerful conclusion. The initial healing, standing up, that was incredible, for sure. But the true miracle, the harder miracle, was choosing to remain standing when every voice of authority, and probably a voice inside his own head, was telling him to lie back down.
So in the end, this ancient story becomes unbelievably personal. It stops being about a man by a pool 2,000 years ago. It becomes about us. About the protective stories we tell ourselves, the comfortable rooms we build that we're afraid to leave. And it leaves us with one really important question to ask ourselves.